It's been over a year since the last dev video, and boy what a year it has been. Pretty much everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. But now that Alpha 1 is finally done, I thought now would be as good of a time as ever to do some self-reflection on what happened. So, without further ado, let us begin. January was the month where I got to make a bunch of additional improvements to the AI. This included the re-implementation of the scatter and defend behavioral states, the latter of which features a new cover system where the infantry AI will perform a search of the environment to take cover and hide behind. When it works, it's really great, but when it doesn't, good lord, can the AI be absolutely retarded. I created a new infantry model that not only looks better, has more historically accurate details, and has more animations, but is also more optimized, thanks to better batching. And lastly, I made a new unit controller, which is how multiple infantry units communicate and follow a set battle strategy. This unit controller is much more objective orientated and opens a bunch of new customizable settings that the old system did not have. It also uses a new battle strategy file system. For those unaware, this is the general plan that the AI follows during a battle, and this file can be modified by the player to make custom battle strategies. This new file system has more settings that can be played with, is way more readable, and comes in a nice little text file as opposed to an XML file. Overall, this was a productive and interesting month. This month sucked for two reasons. One, I did not even post an update for the game. I was hard at work on it, but my other college classes had me so swamped.
I will never forgive you, operating systems class.
That it would take a whole month just to finish the update. And secondly, because one of my college loan providers decided to sneakily pull the rug on one of my loans and demanded that me and my family pay over $25,000 effective immediately. Surely it couldn't get any worse than this, right? Finally, update time. New Spanish infantry model using much of the same model optimizations and detail enhancements as the other model, an LOD system on the soldier models to save even more performance. There is a new body damage system. No longer did shooting a soldier's foot cost the same amount of damage as shooting a soldier's head, and no longer did the soldiers have massive hitboxes that made them easy targets. Now soldiers had critical damage areas tied to their bow and rigs, and each of these areas had different damage multipliers, making foot shots completely useless and headshots way more important. I also added some UI to tell the player which parts of the body they hit, implemented a new scoring system based on what they hit, and re-added the iconic hit marker. I also re-added the artillery units and fixed a bug where artillery shells would randomly bounce off the ground upon impact.
Are you mentally ill?
At this point, schoolwork was mounting up like crazy, and I just so happened to get myself into a cold. I was able to get another update out, end battle screens. Now the game wouldn't just tell you whether you won or lost, but the elapsed game time, how many kills and deaths the player had, what was the player's most played soldier, etc. One thing to note is this, the soldier switching bonus. Essentially the game rewards you for frequently switching to play as other soldiers by adding a multiplier to your game score that is earned by shooting other enemies. I also revised the objective points on the map, which now show in real time the capture state of an objective, and it also shows if an objective is in enemy hands or an allied one, and whether or not an objective is currently being targeted by the infantry unit the player's soldier is a part of. I added damage indicators that help the player identify from which direction they are being shot at. Added a settings menu that not only features your typical graphics and control settings, but also allows to adjust gameplay and quality of life mechanics, such as friendly fire and auto reloading. And finally, I put all the content added since the first Alpha 1 update, which up until this point was on a dedicated developer testing map, onto the other three maps. My plan at this point was to work on what would be the graphics update, enhancing the visuals using Unity's high-definition render pipeline and utilizing some professional photogrammetry assets to make the game look more modern. I knew this update would take a little longer than normal, but I was not ready for just how long it would actually take. This is where the pain begins. Graduating from college was great. My team and I got to show off our senior game project made in Unreal Engine 5. I got to see my family together, have some fun, and I won't lie, this was probably the best thing that happened this year.
Oh, I'm sorry, were you having fun? I said we're struggling this year, boy.
There was no summer vacation or graduation break. As soon as I graduated, I went straight to my university's career advice offices and cooked a banger of a resume, portfolio website, LinkedIn page, everything you could possibly want from an incoming computer science graduate. And I went ham on the applications. For the first few months, I filled out at least 50 of these things, each with targeted, tailor-suited resumes for each application. And every time I sent an application, I got the same result. Unfortunately, at this time, we have decided to not move forward with your application. We have made a very difficult decision to not accept your application. It is unfortunate that we must inform
Listen,
man, we won't tell you why, but we're just not going to.
We won't hire you unless you're a black woman named Shaquille.
So I kept going at it. My work on Unsung Heroes had essentially grounded to a halt. Apart from upgrading the game to a new version of Unity and to the high-definition render pipeline, not much else was getting done on the game. All my energy went onto working on job hunting, but I still kept getting declined. By the time August arrived, I had only received one interview, and it went cold after a month of back and forth. I got so desperate, I had to move to a different state to live with my family. With each passing month, the progress on Unsung Heroes kept getting slower, and the pain was getting bigger. You see, my family offered to get me a new vehicle to replace my car that I thought was serving me well. But hey, you shouldn't complain about getting a free car, right? Yeah, well, this car ended up being a lemon, with major electronic-related issues right from the get-go, and the pain was growing. After filling out over 100 applications with no response, I got desperate. Hey, did you hear about Netanyahu blowing up some people with pagers? Hire me, please! Yes, I begged to be picked up by the National Guard of all places. Things were getting bad, but in my darkest hour, there was light. Oh my god, it's...
There it is. Magnum. Holy moly. Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
This was the second best thing that happened this year, but unfortunately... Despite completing all the tests and requirements with flying colors for the military, I was about to be hit with another L. Literally on the same day I was supposed to meet with my recruiter about a job demo, and literally about 2 hours before we were supposed to meet up, and literally about 10 minutes before I was about to get ready to leave the house to go for this meeting, I get a text from my recruiter saying,
So we're actually going to postpone the meeting indefinitely. We actually filled the programming position 2 weeks ago, and there was only one position open. So you might have to wait like 6 months or a year. Sorry.
Okay, but I did eventually get a job at FedEx as a package handler. And just when I thought I hit a new low, I managed to find a shovel to dig even deeper into. My car had turned from a lemon into a soggy, acidic mess. First, the alternator belt went. Then the car's entire electronic system failed. We had to get this fixed numerous times, each time requiring an expensive and inconvenient tow to the mechanic shop. Apparently, we were sold a car with extremely faulty electronics, in a vehicle where nearly everything is controlled by its electronics. At this time, my monthly loan payments were increased. Not doubled, not tripled, but increased by 4 times. Now yes, I was before paying only the interest, and now I was required to be also paying off the principal. But picture this, I had to drive my mom's car, since my car was most of the time in the shop, to go to work that only barely paid my expenses, while at no point being able to use my degree that I had spent so much money and time on in the first place. And all this time, Unsung Heroes, the community I had tried so desperately to create around it, was being left behind. I had taken so much time away from working on the game and had nothing to show for it. I knew I had to make things right. I sat down at my computer, cracked my knuckles, and logged in. After over half a year had gone by, I was finally done with the update. Updated visuals, redesigned map elements, new particle effects, and so much more. It was the biggest update yet, and I didn't stop there. So far this year has been a lot better. I replaced my car with one that is reliable and that I like. I started getting more comfortable at work and even started applying again for better positions with a little more success. I have been aided fiscally by my family, who I'm very grateful for. And yes, I was able to finish Alpha 1. Listen, this video is already longer than it needs to be, so I'll say this. If you have still been keeping up with the game's development after all of this, thank you. And if you're new here and you haven't done so already, go download the game. It's free, and I take the time to read all the feedback, suggestions, and criticisms. Alpha 2, the Steam Early Access launch, is going to be big, so if you're interested, make sure to share this video. Let's make this year a good one. And until next time, thanks for watching.